Welcome back. Saturday at 3:30, the 7-3 Cardinals back in action, taking on Notre Dame in South Bend. And from now on, it'll be true freshman Reggie Bonifant under center. You'll remember that's because U of L lost starting quarterback Will Gardner to a season-ending knee injury suffered against Boston College. So Bonifant came in and played pretty well, completing 4 or 5 passes for 69 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding another 76 yards and a score on the ground. Head coach Bobby Petrino likes what he's seeing from his true freshman quarterback. He's confident in him taking the reins this Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's just amazing how impressed I am of him as a young man. You know, having to deal with what he did with his father, coming back without a week of practice and knowing he's going to start and lead the team into the next game, and the amount of work that he puts into it, the attitude that he has. I think every player on our team respects him. And, you know, we're all cheering for him to go out there and play real well. And, you know, he's had his moments where he's looked really good. He's had moments at Clemson where it was really hard. Very good defense makes it really hard. But he keeps working and does it with the right attitude. So I think he's gotten a lot better.
All right, former linebacker Dexter Heyman in studio to preview the game and to talk about Bonifant. The first thing I noticed is, look at Bobby Petrino saying all these nice things. Remember when he was first here, everyone was talking about how cold he was. And now it's like a new Bobby Petrino who is feeling for Bonifant, feeling for Gardner, you know, that he's injured. And it's a different aspect, a different side than what we're used to seeing.
Yeah, and Bobby's really concerned with building a good program now. And I think not only him talking about Reggie Bonifant and the way that he is, but also the suspension of James Quick kind of proves that too. A lot of the times in his last tenure, a lot of that stuff would kind of go unnoticed or get swept under the rug, and they would just move on and win football games. But now he's really thinking about grooming young, good men that can contribute to society, and I think it's really impressive.
I know in a perfect world he wouldn't be playing Bonifant. He'd have him groomed and ready for a sophomore season. Where do you think Bonifant is right now? Because he did show a new level against Boston College that he didn't show earlier in the season.
I think he's really maturing in the offense, and I think he's getting some confidence in himself and his ability to actually play at the collegiate level. But you do kind of worry. I mean, he went 4 for 5, but that was only 5 passes. I want to see him throw 20 passes. I want to see him throw 25 passes and really see him gauge himself against a really good secondary and a really good opponent in Notre Dame.
Well, one of the things that Petrino also said is they have a package of plays for Bonifant, taking advantage of his unique skill set.
Yeah, and that's one thing that he does add is the aspect of him running the ball, and that's something that you have to account for, not just his arm. And he does have a live arm, and he does throw a pretty accurate ball. You talk about that pass to Devontae Parker. That was in the one place that only number 9 could get it. And you have him running also, and he has a 36, 37-yard touchdown run or something like that. So he's a complete package talent-wise. But talent isn't what counts in college. It's skill. We need to develop his skills for him to be a really good player.
And maybe it'll come in handy going into the next thing I want to talk with you about. The running game for UL has been kind of a mixed bag this season. There's a number of capable backs, but you never really know who's going to get the rock. And then when the running game is clicking, sometimes it shuts down on the goal line like it did against both Florida State and Boston College. Petrino talked about the team's rushing attack and what needs to be improved in the upcoming weeks.
Well, we work hard on our handoffs, you know, making sure that the exchange is perfect, and we put all exchanges on the quarterback. That's just, you know, the running back's got things he's looking at, and he's got to make sure he gets his elbow up the right way and his thumb down where it's supposed to be. And then we have to do a better job of keeping our pads down, having the exact splits that we want down inside the 5-yard line, and finishing our blocks, you know. I felt like we should have got the ball in there when we went on 4th and 1, and we just didn't get it blocked correctly.
All right, so we've heard Coach talk about this a number of times. You and I have talked about it. What do you think the main problem is? Why are they struggling when it's 3rd and goal from the 1, 2nd and goal from the 1? They're having trouble punching it in.
Well, first of all, the end zone's only 10 yards. And when you have such a tight field like that, it limits what you can call as an offensive play caller. Not to mention the fact that when you get down inside that 5-yard line, a lot of these teams, particularly inside the 3 or 2, they started bringing extra linebackers, extra D linemen, and we just don't have the depth on the offensive line to really punch that ball in from the 2 and 1 yard line, which is why you see us in shotgun formations and spread out down there inside the 5 as well.
I was going to say, if you have trouble punching it in, what about reverses? Assuming that the defense isn't so fast that they're just going to, smoke that out. Reverses, play action passes, tackle eligible. There's a whole bunch of trick plays you can use.
Against a team like Boston College, that might have worked, but against a team like Notre Dame and a linebacker like Jalen Smith, who might be the best sideline-to-sideline linebacker in the country, I don't know if that's going to actually be the best approach. So from that point of view, it might be better to do more direct runs or maybe even quarterback sneaks and draws and things like that. Something to keep this defense off balance.
You don't think maybe they should use the edge? You have an option kind of play, especially someone like Bonifant. Let him keep the ball if he can and pitch it out if he needs to.
I think it's a viable option, but down in the 5 yard line, a lot of teams play what's called thief coverage, where you're bracketing receivers on the outside. And I know one thing that happened to us when I was in college was you spread everybody out in an empty formation so you can see what kind of coverage they're in. And you have particular plays that you go with. If there's still someone in the middle, run a quarterback. If there's nobody in the middle, run a quarterback draw. If there's still someone in the middle, run quick outs, run bullets, run spacing. There's something that you can do in every situation to really attack a defense that doesn't necessarily involve getting to the edge.
And of course, there's a variety of different running backs getting the ball. So, the right skill set, maybe even someone like a Dominic Brown, who we haven't seen in a while, but down low, you'd think big, beefy back, give him the ball, let him chug in for a yard.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I believe all of our backs possess is the lower body strength and the power to really punch it in from the 1 yard line or 2 yard line. It's just that we don't have the depth on the offensive line to really control the line of scrimmage that close to the goal.
That's why, like you said, he's building a program, right? All right, U of L hits the road this weekend to Notre Dame, a team reeling a bit after back-to-back losses against Arizona State and Northwestern. Petrino still expecting a fight from the Irish, and he talked about the lure of playing one of college football's traditional powers.
Being here in Louisville with the Catholic community that we have and Paul Horning and all the ties that the city of Louisville has to Notre Dame, I think that's significant, and I think we'll have a good crowd up there. I know that everyone was talking all summer long about they got tickets and on their way up there. I grew up getting up on Sunday mornings at 9 o'clock and listening to Lindsey Nelson say Notre Dame was unable to sustain a drive, so we'll move to further action. So yeah, I think it's pretty cool to go play there and coach there, and simply because of the way I grew up when I was young.
I remember those Sunday Notre Dame highlight shows with Lindsey Nelson. How would you feel about playing back when you were playing, with U of L, going to a place like Notre Dame? Did players get more geeked up for going to these iconic stadiums, or is it just another game?
There's definitely something extra in the air around Louisville this week. I think going to what would be the college equivalent of Lambeau Field would be something in and of itself that is exciting, that is alluring, like Bobby Petrino said. But at the end of the day, you still have to go out there and you still have to execute and you still have to play 11-on-11 football, and I think that's what Louisville's really focused on.
And you're playing a Notre Dame team that's reeling. I mean, they lost to Northwestern. They were a double-digit favorite going in. They turned the ball over late. Northwestern kicks a field goal to tie it. Northwestern kicks in overtime to win it. You wonder if this is not only a good Notre Dame team, but now a really ticked-off one.
Not just that, but if you're Brian Kelly or a team captain on that Notre Dame team, you're preaching, we are Notre Dame. We are the most historic, iconic, tradition-based football program in the country. And you're talking almost to a point of pride, because what we saw last week was a team that got stomped out by Arizona State, and then it kind of seemed like they didn't have anything left to play for. But what you have to realize is that with a team like Notre Dame, when you strap on that gold helmet, there's a lot of people counting on you to uphold the mantle, and I think that that's something that they're really talking about right now, and they're really trying to bring the pride back into Notre Dame so that they can finish this year strong and get to a great bowl game.
Bobby Petrino and Louisville needs a signature win. I know they can get the victory. Will they this Saturday?
I believe they will, but it's going to take big plays down the stretch. We can't shoot ourselves in the foot, so to speak, like we have in our other 3 losses. When there's a play there to be made, you have to make it. If there's an interception to make it. If you can strip and get a fumble, make it. If you can catch a touchdown pass wide open over the middle, you have to catch those balls. From the last 3 losses that we've had, those are just the plays that we haven't been making down the stretch, and that's been the difference.
And we know Notre Dame puts up points, meaning U of L will have to also.
Yeah, and also to that point, one thing that's a little bit concerning is that our corners aren't very big guys. Notre Dame's receivers, they're for the most part running 6'2", 6'3", 6'4", and they can get up into the air and really high point the ball, almost kind of like a Devontae Parker can.
Right.
And I want to know if our cornerbacks and our secondary will really be able to match up against those guys on the outside, because if they can, Everett Golson is going to throw you one or two.
One of the storylines to keep an eye on. Dexter Heyman, is always great analysis. Thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you, Bruce.
All right. Coming up, Eastern Kentucky probably will get an at-large bid into the FCS playoffs, but there's still business at hand for Dean Hood's guys, namely a trip Saturday to the Swamp. We'll talk directly to the EKU head coach and get his thoughts right after this look at your CN2 forecast.